Hi, Carmen. Hey, Christy. Thank you guys for joining tonight. I'm so excited that you guys got to make it. Hey, Joe. Let me see if Miss Kendra is on yet. Hi, Leslie. How are you? Thank you. Hi, Marie. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm glad you made it too, Christy. I'm glad for everybody that gets to make it tonight because this has been a long time coming. We've been doing this for a few months now, and I think it's kind of funny that Keith and I are just now telling our stories. So it has been a day. It has been a week, right? I don't know about you guys, but I had something just kind of flip and it just kind of shifted everything for me. And I don't know if everyone is. No, Erica, I don't think I did. If I did, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I'm looking forward to sharing my story, and there's a lot of it that's not going to be told. That's going to have to be, something that's shared over time on my channel. But hi, Kendra. I love
Hi.
that tapestry. It is so
I'm
beautiful.
just trying to get my little janky setup set up here.
I get it. I've had some janky setups in the past.
Yeah, my lovely little ring light and stand kicked the bucket, so.
Oh no.
But that's okay.
I hate when that happens. Thankfully, they're not too bad on Amazon, right?
Yeah, I'll get one eventually.
Yeah. So, I don't know what episode we're on, honestly. We're up there, right? It's been a few months. What?
Are these good?
I don't know.
The little ones.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
That's
Can you lock the door, please?
No.
Had a few people come in and interrupt. So tonight we are going to be telling my story. This is Invisible No More, and if you guys haven't been on before, which I think most of us have been on before, so I'm not going to go over all the rules and everything, but basically, this is a safe space and we want to keep it that way, so please just be kind. It's not that hard, but it seems like a hard thing in today's, world, but and then, so no drama, no politics. We just like to keep it safe for everyone to be able to share their stories and their experiences and relate to what's going on in the video. So we would love to answer some questions and hear some victories towards the end. But I think just about everyone's been in here before. So you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, so, this has been interesting. With Invisible No More, so many people have been able to share their stories and their experiences in the chronic pain and chronic illness community. And Amanda has been one of those people that has been helping others to share their stories. And she hasn't yet had the opportunity to do that herself. So that's what we are going to do tonight. And I'm sure a lot of people know you and who you are, but can you start out with just kind of giving just a little bit background about who you are and where you come from and just a little bit about your life in general?
Absolutely. My name is Amanda. I go by Chronic Pain Warrior for You on TikTok and YouTube. I have been doing this. When I started thinking about it today, I realized that it's been a few years that I've actually been online telling, bits and pieces of my story. But yeah, I've been on TikTok for a couple of years now, and we started doing Invisible No More a few months ago, and it's just kind of become this whole thing, and it's really beautiful, and I'm just I'm a mother. I have two kids, a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, both girls, and I am married. Been with my husband for 12 years now, and we just celebrated our 12th year together. And I know it's hard to believe. So I'm an avid. I've been in chronic pain for over 14 years now. So it really has consumed a good chunk of my life, and so I realized that, I wanted to help people, and the best way that I knew how to try to help people was to relate with them. And by sharing my story, I've managed to meet some really, really amazing people like yourself. So
Aww.
I am really thankful for this platform and for, the opportunities that it's brought into my life and the people that it's brought into my life.
Now, you mentioned that you've been in chronic pain for about 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to kind of delve into what brought you into this realm?
Sure. Yeah. So, oddly enough, I had it started when I was about 4 months old. I had spinal meningitis. So it's been going on I've had pain sensitivity my whole life, but I didn't realize, or it didn't come to like a head until I was, I think, about 22 or 23 when I got into a car accident.
I think it's interesting because I know a lot of us have been sick off and on since we've been children.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have never really been pain-free.
Right.
So I just wanted to put that little point in there that you've been battling with health stuff since you were a baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just been really interesting talking with my mom more about it recently, because there was a lot I didn't really know about my medical history and stuff like that from being a child. And my mom really does believe that there's a lot of long-term side effects that I'm dealing with from the meningitis. Mm-hmm. And so it's not something that when I first started going to the doctors about all this pain and everything I was having, it wasn't something that I had mentioned until I started having neurological issues. And then I started talking to my mom more about it, and she was like, it definitely could be like a long-term side effect of having meningitis. Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah, the car accident definitely could have triggered it. Right. But yeah, it's been about 14 years or 13. Let's see. I was pregnant with my daughter when I had the accident. So it's been about 14 years since my car accident.
Okay, so let's start. We'll continue with there. So you were in a pretty serious car accident.
Yeah. And nobody really prepares you for what happens after you have an accident. Somebody had hit me. It wasn't my fault. Not that it matters necessarily, but there is a frustration and an anger that goes along with being more of the victim side of being in an accident. And so I think I held on to a lot of anger and frustration towards that for a very long time.
Well, and it's hard to, it's one thing if you're born with a condition or something like that, but when you're just going about your day and suddenly your life is completely changed. And I know that's something you and I have both said to people before that are not, chronically ill, that you're literally one accident, one illness, one whatever away from being in our shoes. Absolutely. And people don't realize that.
No.
Yeah.
And we don't. And honestly, it's really a reason why these last few months have been incredibly different for me than than the last, 14 years. I got angry, and I'll get to that point, but I got really angry and I took back charge of my life. I didn't want to feel like a victim of this pain anymore, and I had to fight back. And so, like, if there's one thing that I really want to cover tonight, it's that I've been through a lot of trauma through my life, from all different sorts of traumas, and have some pretty extensive PTSD from it. But I've managed to do a lot of therapy over the last 6 years, and I've really learned to grow and focus more on myself, and really building myself to be the person that I want to be. So that's the part that I really want to take out of tonight, is that we can be the people that we want to be. We just have to rebuild ourselves to be those.
Beautiful way to say that.
Thank you.
So, after you had the car accident, what injuries did you sustain from that?
So it started out with my right shoulder and my neck predominantly, and then I was having some lower back issues.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it got blamed on my pregnancy. And during my first pregnancy, I was only on pain medications for the first maybe month before I found out I was pregnant.
Okay.
And then my doctor took me off of them, and we just used Tylenol and physical therapy for 9 months.
Oh,
and
wow.
In the beginning, it wasn't as extreme as it is now, right?
Yeah.
Like, it has grown and produced this ugly monster, this pain that I have. It started out with just having shoulder surgery, and that seemed simple enough. And then the pain started growing and expanding, and they did nerve tests, they did ablations, they did so many images.
Yeah.
And it was just, all while I had a newborn.
Right.
At the same time, I had a newborn, and I was just in the beginning stages of dating my husband as well. So it was all a lot going on in my life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think I used some of the newness of the relationship with my husband and everything like that to kind of fuel me to get through, the next couple of years. That is so
Thank you
loud.
guys.
Thank you guys so much. Let me reset that. I don't know what I'm doing.
While you're doing that, it's interesting because I had my first shoulder surgery when my oldest son was he was 10 months old when I had my surgery. So my arm was still in my sling and everything during his first birthday. And I remember how hard that was for the almost year it took to rehab from that surgery, dealing with the baby. It's a lot.
It's intense. I've done... So this all began when I was pregnant with my 14-year-old. So I was literally pregnant or having a child, or in the midst of having a small child and then getting pregnant again. And so a lot of the symptoms that I was starting to have, I started wondering if it was because of my pregnancy. And so I almost gaslit myself for a long time when it came.
We've all done that.
Right. I think we all have. I think we've all gaslit ourselves into believing that it's something else that will hopefully go away eventually, right? And so I kept, the brain fog. I would say, well, I'm pregnant or I had a baby,
Yeah.
So I was blaming the brain fog on that. And I think in reality, so it started with a fibromyalgia diagnosis, and then I got the Sjogren's diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some other diagnoses after that, as far as my spine with degenerative disc disease and spondylosis and stuff like that. And then came the CRPS diagnosis.
Now, do you think your CRPS symptoms started after the car accident, or did they develop later on?
I think that's what it originally was. I think it's hard to say, right? Because CRPS and fibromyalgia do have so many symptoms that do coincide. So it's really hard for me to know if I'm even properly diagnosed, and I hate saying that, but I do wonder sometimes if I've even been properly diagnosed with what I have on.
Yeah.
Because of the gaslighting and because the years of being put off and not being taken seriously and having it blamed on psychological issues. And so, it was like a really rough X amount of years. And then I found a really good gynecologist, and that's kind of when things started shifting and turning around in my life. She took my pain seriously and actually took over my pain treatment while I was pregnant with Cheyenne, with my second.
Okay.
Because my pain management, they dismissed me once they found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And she did not want to leave me and my baby in this distress, know. So it was a very hard time for me, because I do tend to lean more towards natural options. But I knew that my pain was so severe that there was nothing that I could safely take, knowing that I was pregnant. And so I basically took opioids during my pregnancy while being supervised, and being under the supervision of a specialist as well, to make sure everything was going fine. And she was fine. That's fine.
Amazing that doctor did that.
Yeah, it really was. She was my unicorn doctor. She was the one who diagnosed my endometriosis. I had endometrial issues from the time I was like 9 or 10, and did not get properly diagnosed until like 2017, 2018. So like 10 years almost. Or longer than that actually, but it was a really long time before I found a doctor that was willing to actually do the surgery to find out if I had endometriosis, and I did. It wasn't a shocker to me. My mom had been saying it for years.
That happens so often, where we're like, yeah, duh, when you finally get diagnosis and they tell it to you and you're like not surprised at all.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so I had endometriosis. Let's see. Right before that, though, I guess let me backtrack a little bit. Oh man, I feel like I need to backtrack a lot. I don't want to put a lot of focus on the mental health aspect of it, although I do want to bring it up. I was definitely gaslit into having mental health issues. And I say that because I did deal with depression a little bit as a teenager from from the traumas and things like that. So I knew what depression felt like.
Right.
But this was a new level of like discrimination, I guess, is what I went through. And when you go to the doctors and you're taught from a young age to trust them and to that basically their word is as good as gold, right? So you listen to what these doctors have to say about you,
They're the
and
experts, right?
right, and you go in and you're going in for help, and then you're told, well, this is all in your head. And that, I want to say that started around 2016 for me, when all the guidelines came out and everything was a really big
Yeah,
shift.
that's about. I mean, I had gotten that, prior as well, but it really. I think you're right. Around that time is when they were really hitting it hard with, you're just crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And you start to think it
And
after a while. You start to believe it.
mhm. And then they ask you, even today at my rheumatologist appointment, they ask you such personal questions,
Every
and
single
you're
time.
trusting them with this information about yourself.
Right.
But really, I had to learn, when I started over from scratch with these new doctors, I had to learn how to better advocate for myself. And it's not all our fault when we get treated like crap, but there is certain things that we can learn to do better to get better outcomes.
Right.
So I had to learn, and I'm again so thankful for TikTok, because I met some people through here who really helped me learn how to advocate better for myself. And it
Almost like
really,
you have to play a game.
it is it's like a game of cat and mouse. It really is.
Yeah.
I remember telling my doctor, my previous pain management doctor, who I won't name because I don't want to get in trouble, but he was terrible. And if any of you guys are in the Austin, Texas area and you're worried about getting him, then just message me.
Same
But
for me now, because I have two of my own that are on the list. That
yeah. So, but anyways, I remember telling him, I don't understand why you're not willing to help me when I am literally doing everything that you guys are asking me to do.
Yeah.
And this was one of the major times that I remember being gaslit, but he told me, this isn't a game. This isn't, you don't get a prize for being good. And so that was one of the appointments where I left really upset. I did this cat and game mouse with this guy for 6 years, and I saw his nurse practitioner every month. So I really only had to see him like once, maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
Which didn't work out to my favor in the long run. And I'll tell you guys why. Because while seeing the nurse practitioner was beneficial for me, I really liked her as a person. My doctor didn't know anything about what was going on in my healthcare.
Right.
He didn't know about my surgeries. He didn't know about any of the injections or ablations or any of that stuff. He didn't know about my case because he didn't see me.
And I'm sure he didn't take the time to look through all of the notes that
Right. Yeah, and learning later on, just a few months ago, I learned that they hadn't updated my chart since 2018. So, there's a blurb about you, like a paragraph about you, at least with the doctor we go to.
Yeah.
And that hadn't been updated since 2018. So, of course, he didn't know that I had been diagnosed with CRPS or had 2 spinal cord stimulators put in me. When I asked him, he seemed dumbfounded as to what I was talking about. And that really, hit a light in my head. I was like, okay, this guy can't treat me. He doesn't know anything about me.
Yeah, that's why it's so important for everybody to keep an eye on your records and make sure that they're constantly being updated.
Yes, absolutely. And so, oh man, I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but
you do it how you feel comfortable.
Let's see. I just saw that Kratom Ninja jumped in, so it reminded me that I do want to talk about um, the fact that I found a lot of relief in natural supplements. About 6 years ago, it was March of 2018, I had an attempt. And I talk about that in my bias videos. If you guys want to know more about that, I'm not going to go into it much tonight. But it was I survived that by God's grace. I survived that. But I went through a lot of trials and tribulations over a span of time. And it taught me how to be very strong, and going through that and going into treatment and things like that for my depression, and being surrounded by other people that were diagnosed with all sorts of different mental health conditions, from substance use disorder to bipolar to schizophrenia. Like, I was with everybody.
Yeah.
And so it gave me a lot of insight and a lot of compassion to what we're going through when we have mental health issues. And I was so thankful for that opportunity in my life. Even though it was one of the hardest things that I've ever been through, it taught me so much. And the pain really was the root issue.
Right.
They always said, well, get your depression under control and your pain will be better.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing that I get a lot too, and I know a lot of people do, is they keep saying, get your anxiety, get your depression under control, and then the pain will go away. And I think it's, and I'm not going to say all the time that that's not always the case, but
Right.
The majority of the time, it's the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, so I had been at this point in my life, I had felt so abused and so just disheveled, and I was convinced that I was really mentally sick at this time. Mm-hmm. And I learned recently, and when I look back at the time zones or at the time lapse of how everything kind of played out, in 2017, I was put onto Suboxone. And I want to put this out there that I think that Suboxone can be a good MAT treatment for addiction. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a naturopath, I don't give out any kind of medical advice or anything like that, so I just want to say that before I talk about this.
Sorry, my cat.
I really, it was one of the worst things that I had ever been on for pain.
That was the same experience as same exact experience as you. It was awful.
Yeah. It was awful, and I didn't put two and two together at the time that I started having these ideations, and I started having these like episodes of just, it was almost as if I had, before I took the Suboxone, before I was on the Suboxone, I was able to work, I was able to do everything, was able to raise my kids, and then once they put me on that, I started losing myself.
Yeah.
And it was like a progression, and I don't like to think about it a lot, that's why I don't talk about it a whole lot, but it really took away parts of who I was. And I'm still processing that right now, because I didn't realize that this was most likely a side effect of a medication I was on that I should have never been prescribed in the first place. And that's why I get emotional about it, because these doctors saw me losing my teeth. They saw me going down the drain. And I went in and I begged them for help. to no avail. And to go to another human being that has the power to save your life and tell them, I don't think I'm going to make it to tomorrow and I need you to help me. And to be told that they can't help you is just, I don't know, words can't explain how disheartening that is. But I made it through, right? So that's really where I wanted to get to. I found through that, right after that, I found Kratom. And I know that it's kind of a taboo conversation right now, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot. But it did save my life, and it continues to save me every day. I am on prescription pain medications, but it is not enough to take it down to a level where I'm functional, as much as functional as I want to be. You know what I mean? Like, it'll take me to functional to where I need to be, I guess. But it's definitely still a process trying to push through that pain just to live.
Functional versus actually thriving and enjoying life are two different things.
Right. Yeah. So I had gotten to the point, and I remember telling Steven this about a year ago, because we were going through some really hard times with my doctors, and then they all left. And I was put in the position where I had to find a new doctor. And so thankfully at that time I had found Clayton. God rest his soul. And Clayton helped push me to interview these doctors, and he was on me, man. He was like, you've got to do this and this and this, and you need to ask about this medication. And he was such a godsend. And you know, I don't think I would be, you know, showing you guys my life like I have been these last few months if it weren't for him helping me get to this doctor. And so I found my unicorn doctor, and he is actually an addictionologist, a pain management doctor, and a naturopath. So he was like my perfect combo of what I really needed in my life. Because I do tend, like I said earlier, to lean more towards the natural remedies and things like that. Just after, you know, after being polyprescribed so many different medications and then getting sick from being on so many different medications, I realized that I needed to start processing all of that and kind of start weaning off of certain things to see if they were actually helping or hurting me.
Right.
And so that was like the process over this last about year and a half, was getting off of, I was probably polyprescribed over 20 different prescriptions.
Yeah, and then having to wean off things, and you know, you have to do it one at a time. It's a long process, and you have to be really in touch with your body and your mind during that time to see, to evaluate. So that takes a lot of work.
It does. It takes a lot of strength to go through withdrawal.
Yeah.
Period. Whether you're ready for it or not. You know, I was ready to get off of Suboxone. I remember going into that first appointment. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do remember telling him, I want to get off of this medication. It is literally ruining my teeth.
Yep.
I do not even recognize who I am anymore. I need your help. I need to get on something else for my pain. I basically went in there, and I was I didn't cry. I didn't, you know, get emotional or anything, but I was very firm with him on what I needed at that point in my life. And I think that really made a difference with him, of me knowing, like, I have tried all of these different things, and I laid all that out for him. I said, I have tried chiropractor, I've tried,
Yeah.
I've tried it all. I've tried massage therapy, needling, dry needling, electro needling. I've tried it all. So I was like, I know what works for me, and there definitely are some of those things that I keep in my toolbox. And like something we're going to be talking about this week is what has worked for us other than just pain medications. So I'm excited about this week's topic. Because I have a lot to say about certain things that I've tried that have really been beneficial to me. And had I not stumbled across somebody on TikTok talking about it, I would have never tried it, So it's like, it's worked for me. Of course, it may not work for somebody else, but, I think that at this point in the game, like I mentioned, it's been 14 years. I was willing to try anything.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. And if I'm offered something that there isn't a serious negative risk for me, I'll try it. Sign me up. Whatever we got to do to get this going. And sometimes it helps us and sometimes it doesn't, and things work differently for people, but there's so many different things, and I think that's something, kind of going back to unicorn doctors. I think that's something, when you are looking to see if this is going to be one of those doctors that you can really have on your team, is, are they also thinking outside the box,
right?
With different ideas and different suggestions. And, I think it's important that we do that, but also that our doctors do that as well.
I think it's also important to realize that doctors and nurses are human, and they make human error, and that they don't know everything. Right. And I know that's going to hurt some feelings out there, but I mean, there's no way. There are some really, really amazing doctors and nurses out there, and some really, really intelligent people that are changing the game. And God, I hope they find some cures for what we have going on. But, if we look at the last, few hundreds of years that we've been trying to find cures for things, it doesn't look all that promising.
Well, and I think too, it's important that we also remember, when we're advocating for ourselves, that we are the experts of our body. And when you have a doctor that will completely dismiss you in all of the research that you've done, because I know, like for myself especially, and a lot of other people, that without us doing our own research and finding a doctor that was willing to listen to us and then order those tests and look into it further, we would have never gotten an answer. And so it's on both of us, the doctor and us. And if the doctor's not willing to listen to what you have to say at all, and they're not willing to do any research either, then they might not be the right fit. Because they are human and they can't know everything about all the things.
Right. I mean, I call my doctor a unicorn doctor, and at this point in time, I don't know that he's necessarily a unicorn. I don't know that it exists, right? Yeah. I don't know that there is a Dr. House or a Dr. Sean Murphy really out there, but if you are, hi. I am the perfect master case for you to figure out.
Medical mysteries here.
I just, so we really, so at first he wasn't really like a unicorn doctor, right? He didn't come in and swoop me off my feet, and it was a process
It
of
is.
finding the right medicine, finding the right dosage, finding the right schedule. So it's taken almost a year for us to figure out what medication and what dose and what schedule I need to be on. And we're still working at it, right? I mean, like, it's still not perfected, and I don't know that it'll ever be perfected, but I'm at a much better place in my life right now, just knowing that I have a backup plan in case this falls through. Knowing that I have natural options there in case, in case something happens with my doctor, or or he leaves, or I can't get my medications. There's all those worries that I think we all go through.
Do you think having, kind of like what you said before, the toolbox, do you feel that having that toolbox of other modalities and natural medications, natural supplements, do you think just having those and having that knowledge that those things are helpful to you, have you seen or feel like a reduction in your stress, as far as I'd almost say it, medical PTSD and the stress surrounding that we all go through when we go to a doctor's appointment, that anxiety and that kind of thing? Do you think that's helped you?
I think it definitely has. I think, there's been like a combination of tools that have really helped me with my mental health. And part of that was getting my pain under control, right? I mean, that was a big part of it. Yeah, that's a given, right? It should be a given. I don't understand why it's such a hard concept for some doctors to understand, but pain causes depression, pain causes anxiety. So it's like, once I got my pain kind of to a better point, my mental health started to get better. But I had started taking different plants, plant medicine and things like that, to try to get certain symptoms and stuff like that under control, because I was having signs of what I now know as adrenal fatigue. And so I didn't know that was adrenal fatigue until recently. And I literally just went and did my blood work today to see if that's what I have going on. So
you get some answers from that.
Hopefully we'll get some answers. Hopefully I've done enough, naturally to kind of get it to a better place. I know I feel much better mentally, emotionally. I am not so on edge all the time. I don't feel so quick to snap, as where I know when I was hurting a lot, I was always just very emotional and very on edge and very just angry. And
it's hard to be in a good mood when you're hurting.
It's almost impossible, really, to...
Yeah, you can mask it for a while, but...
Yeah. And falling and getting hurt, a week ago kind of reminded me of, like, maybe that was just like a little reality check that I needed, but it definitely sucks. Just being reminded of where I came from and where I could be, it's...
Well, but I think also that this time around with, this latest injury, you have more hope than you've had before, because you have gone through this whole process, and you have, like you said, you've got tools in your toolbox, and you have doctors that are listening to you, and so there's that hope there,
right,
that maybe wasn't there in the past.
No, definitely.
So, I wanted to ask you something else, because you've been a huge, important part of my life, and getting my mental health in a better state, and also my physical health and my pain. And there's something about you and how, even if you've got all sorts of things thrown your way, or you're having bad things happen, you always seem to find a way to find something positive, to create some joy in your day. So can you talk a little bit about, like, how do you do that? I know you just, I know it's not, I just do it because I know that's not true. But what have you done over the past several months to kind of create this part of you that I know has personally helped me, just seeing you do it?
Really, again, I think getting the pain to a certain level of acceptable was a big part of it. But even before that, I really strived to try to make the most out of my life. And I know that's not easy when we're hurting and when we have physical limitations. Like right before this happened, I was using a walker. I was using a cane, and I was in so much pain. And I literally remember telling Steven, I don't think that I will ever feel happy again. And that's what gave me the will to fight, was wanting to feel happy again. There's a difference between living in pain and going and doing something that is supposed to be enjoyable and getting through it, right? I went to Disney World with my kids. I went on a cruise with my kids a couple years ago. It was what should have been like the most amazing experiences of my life. But when you're fighting through pain and it consumes you so much that you're really not even able to feel that joy, it's hard to remember those times, really, when I look back at it, versus finding the right medication and finding the right plant meds to get me to this point where I've looked back at some of the videos, because I've been struggling a little bit this last week with a lot of pain and just kind of feeling really meh. And so I go back and I watch those videos of those good times, and I just have to be gentle with myself. And really it was about learning to give myself grace and learning to love myself more and be a more positive role model for myself. My kids definitely had a pivotal part in it. I want to be a good role model for them. I want to be the best version of myself that I can be for them. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to want to be something for someone else. Right. I had to want it for myself, and I had to want to be happy for myself. And that's such a foreign feeling. And I talk about that when I do my Wednesday lives on the self-love stuff. It's like, it's such a foreign concept that I don't think very many of us really grew up with the concept of even loving ourselves. Or even liking ourselves. Let's be honest. Most of us don't even like ourselves half the time. So I had to learn how to nurture that. And it wasn't easy, right? I mean, I have walls of self-love books that are half read, and I have not perfected it yet, and I always say that it's about progress, not perfection. I think that's such an important
That's
thing.
giving yourself grace right there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing that I learned through therapy was when I start to have those negative, thoughts come in, or that little negative voice that's saying, "Why are you doing this?" or "You're so dumb," or whatever it says, I quickly shut that shit down. And I'm like, that's not you.
You're like, sit down.
Yeah, I'm like, who are you in my head right now? Like, you're not nobody. You don't get to say that about me. That's not true. And so I've literally kind of had to make it to where it's like a thing, like I'm just like, if those things start to creep in, I'm just like, no, it's not gonna happen today. Not today, Satan. But I mean, it has been years of learning and growing and therapy and so many different tools like Reiki and massage therapy and breathing techniques have really been a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I recently got back into tapping, which is another
the different points.
Yeah. And there are some really great people on TikTok that do the tapping meditations. And I'm a firm believer in whatever works for you.
Yeah.
So I think that in the beginning, if I had to come from a place of where I've come from 14 years, in the beginning, I had this hope that this pain would go away one day. And then I learned that this pain is not going to go away. It's just going to be something that I'm going to be managing for a long time.
That's part of that grief process that we all have to go through, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So once I got through that, once I realized, okay, this is something I've got to do, it's, to me, I see people with other conditions like diabetes and heart problems and stuff like that, and I realize that we're not all that different. We're all just trying to manage our symptoms and get through these days. But I guess getting back to like things that I do to try to be more positive, one thing you talked about was trying to focus more on I focus more on moments throughout my day. I don't focus on my whole day as a picture, because if I have one bad thing happen and I say, damn it, my day it just sucked, right? And I used to do that a lot. I used to be like, this sucked. Like, this happened, and I could have done that today. I mean, it would have been very easy to say, this happened today and that sucked.
Yeah.
But I break it down into moments, right? And I break it down into, I've started this thing with the girls at dinner, and I'd say, tell me one good thing that happened in your day. Because I think it's so easy for us to focus on what's bad or what's negative when that's all that's being fed to us. We are constantly being fed these lies and these streams of just garbage, and so surrounding myself with lovely people has been a big part of it. Making sure that the people that are in my life are good for me, setting healthy boundaries with the people that are in my life still. There's so much. There's so much.
And chickens probably help some too.
And chickens, yes. Yes, and chickens. How did I forget about the chickens? Can't forget about the chickens. I'm one of those. I found a shirt today that's perfect. It says, I was crazy before the chickens came around. So... Yeah, finding something that brings you joy, no matter how small it may seem, whether it's, I've over time have created these like systematic things that I do out of habit. So like I make it a habit to get dressed every day. That is just a habitual thing that I make sure that I do. And then I try to do my makeup every day just because I feel like I feel better when I feel like I look better. It's silly, I know, but
Oh, no,
those
I mean,
little
every
things,
individual has their own thing that makes them
right?
feel better, you know?
Yeah. So doing little things for yourself that make you feel good. If you haven't had a shower in a few days and you really feel like that's something you need that day, then you know muster it up and take that shower. But I know it's hard. you know
Yeah, it is, and I think it is hard because so many of us have to kind of pick and choose due to either physical ability and also levels of energy, that kind of thing. So yeah, it is hard sometimes the want is often there, but we can't necessarily do that. So
yeah.
something that I've been trying to work more on is, okay, if I can't do the whole thing that I want to do, can I maybe do something halfway? Or, okay, maybe I'm not going to get a bath today, but could I still, wash my face and,
Yeah.
and do some skincare or something like that?
Yeah.
That may not be the entirety of what I want to do, but at least I did something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important. I think that was really a pivotal point for my relationship too. And we talked about that a while back when Stephen was on our live. We talked about how communication and setting expectations for ourselves. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a relationship, it can just be for ourselves. But setting realistic expectations for ourselves is so vital, and setting those expectations, maybe in the beginning of the day you wake up and you feel, how am I feeling today? What can I realistically accomplish today? If it's just cleaning a corner of the kitchen and like focusing on that, but making it to where you have at least one thing a day that you can feel accomplished for, I think was really a big thing for me. And learning that he doesn't expect me to have the house all cleaned and the dinner cooked and I had these expectations for myself that I was putting on myself, thinking that that's what a good wife is supposed to do.
I think it also helps to, like, I've been trying to be more verbal with my kids about how I'm feeling in the morning.
Yes.
So they can also understand, and they will know kind of where I'm at, instead of just automatically assuming, oh, mom's good to go, or automatically assuming, oh, she's not good to go.
Yeah.
And yes, like you said, things can change throughout the day. But mom guilt especially is really, really
oh yeah
big thing, especially for us. And I've really been trying to, not to make them be fearful or worried about me, but be more honest and communicate to them so that I don't overpromise things and not be able to follow through with them. Or I'll, if it's something that I'm thinking in my head, my kids want to do, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Yeah. I try and come up with maybe a compromise of, okay, well, you want to do this project. Maybe we do half of it today. Like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through all of it. And I know that's helped me mentally stay out of that. Oh, I'm just a shitty mom, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Communication is absolutely important.
Yeah, definitely. And we're learning that with our kids. Every day is a new day and every day is a new challenge when it
Yeah.
comes to being a mom with chronic pain and chronic illnesses. And then, the worries about them getting sick and them, dealing with their health issues and whatnot. Like it's a lot, it's a lot. I can imagine it's a lot for parents that don't deal with chronic illnesses, but when you're dealing with, chronic illnesses, and it is like a full-time job being chronically ill.
It is.
And so yeah, the mom guilt is definitely a thing. and I've had to really work on that too. I mean, that's been another thing that I've really worked on. I think getting these last few months of my life have really helped me in that aspect of feeling like they finally got to see the mom that I wanted to be. But then I have my setbacks. I still have my days, like I've had these last few days where I've felt really incredibly just, I know you guys haven't seen a lot of me, and I've been in bed a lot, and the heating pad has been my boyfriend. And it's like, it's real. Like, it's real on my end too. I know you guys see all the fun shit I get to do, but it comes at a cost, I promise you.
It does come at a cost, yeah.
And that's like a whole other part of being chronically ill is the aspect of when, the juggling of paying for it. Do I go out tonight? And if I go out tonight, what am I going to have to do in order? All these things that we have to think of that just normal people that don't deal with the fatigue or the illnesses have to deal with. They don't think about it, right? They just...
How do you personally, how do you deal with that? The kind of the figuring out, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Or am I going to do it? How do you either prepare for, or how do you deal with those when okay, I'm going to go to, like, I know you love to go to concerts and stuff. Yeah. So how do you personally kind of determine, is it not worthy of doing, and also, but how do you prepare and deal with the aftermath?
Yeah, so it's usually like a full day process of getting ready and just taking a lot of rest that day, and then knowing that, I guess the biggest difference between this last few months is that before, when I was like on Suboxone for my pain, I would still go do these concerts and stuff, but I would pay for it for weeks. I would be down for weeks. And so I was prepared for that. I was prepared that this first concert that I went to, I went to an AJR concert like months back, and I was down for a couple weeks. It wasn't as bad as it was before, but it was rough. And so the next concert I went to, I was like prepared for that. I was like, okay, well, this might happen, so buckle up, Buttercup, because you better love this shit or it's not going to be worth it. But a lot of it has been just really wanting to live my best life. Like, I feel like I'm either... I don't want to say at the end of my life, because I really don't know my future, right? But I feel like I've been given...
The thing is, we don't know our future.
Right. And so I've really been living in this kind of midlife crisis-y mode where I'm just like, I want to go do it all. And I haven't gotten to do it all for so long, and I just want to do it all. And I'm just like, if I pay for it for weeks, then I pay for it. I don't know. My give a damn's broken, I guess. I just it may not be the healthiest thing. I don't know, but I'm enjoying my life right now, and I'm really glad to have these moments because life is short. We if anything, losing Clayton taught me that I need to live every day like it's my last. And um I have been so blessed these last few months since everything happened. And not that I haven't had some bad shit happen too. I mean, it's definitely had its stuff, but it's easier to deal with some of the bad shit when you're better prepared mentally for accepting that stuff.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about Kratom at all anymore, or?
I just wanted to say that where do we go with this? There are some really great advocates out there for Kratom. I did a podcast a few months ago on my story if you guys are interested in hearing that. It's a safe natural plant that's related to the coffee plant, and
I love it too so much.
Yeah, and for so many of us, it has been really beneficial for our pain and mental health.
Yes.
And mental health especially.
Yeah.
So, but as with everything, pharmaceutical or non-pharmaceutical, it is all trial and error. Joe just recently started taking it and it's been helping him. I'm so thankful I get to hear all of these stories of, and it's not always 100%, like I said, it's trial and error. There's different.
What strains work for you don't work for me,
Right, exactly. So it's all about trial and error and tailoring it to what works for you and not giving up. I think that's my biggest thing is just whatever you do, don't give up. Low and slow in the beginning. Don't take a whole bunch.
Yeah, definitely do your research and what is it? The Kratom Gals?
Yeah, Kratom Gals.
How I found out about them originally, and they have a lot of information.
Yes. Yeah. So Kratom, Kratom. Oh, no. That's her website. Kratom Stories podcast. But on TikTok, she had to spell it KR8.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a TOM. But there's an 8 in there, Stories podcast. But you guys can find her link. If you go on my bio, go to my link tree and you'll see my interview with her. And there's a bunch of different links on that page for different, resources of safe places to get it. You don't want to just go to the gas station and buy whatever you can. You want to get it from a reputable source. Do not take the extracts, especially if you're new to starting this. But yeah, if you just stick with the powder, you should be good to go. But there are definitely safe vendors out there and non-safe vendors, so do your research. American Kratom Association has a website and they're my go-to. But there's a documentary. The last thing I'll say is there's a documentary, and that's how I found out about Kratom, and it's called A Leaf of Faith, and you can find it on YouTube. It saved my life, and I've told that story before on my page, so if you guys are ever interested, but it literally, this plant has saved my life. And if it were between having to go off of my prescription medication and being able to take this, I don't know what I would choose.
Yeah.
Because both of them together help me tremendously, but individually, I don't know that either one of them are enough, and so it's hard. Um,
Um, I have something that I want to ask you at the end, but is there anything else that you wanted to talk about your journey thus far? You want to check your notes?
Let me look real quick. Yeah, God, there's so much. I think we got in like the gist of everything though. But yeah, at the beginning of this year, I got my new smile. I lost all of my teeth to Suboxone, like I mentioned before. It was like a 4-year process of getting all my teeth pulled. It was horrific.
And
So
once you got that all done, how did that help your self-esteem and everything?
so it really it's been difficult, right? You would think that I have this nice pretty smile and I'm all good right now, right? But like it at the beginning I had like a speech impediment, I had like a lisp, and I still have a hard time eating sometimes. So it's like it's not that it's better necessarily, it's just different.
Yeah.
But I look back at pictures even a year ago of myself and I don't even recognize myself really. It's kind of crazy. I can't believe how far I've come in just a year.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful that I have, the smile now. Like it has been helpful because it was so hard on my self-esteem when my smile was just being eaten away.
Oh, and it's my teeth are not great right now. I mean, I haven't had to have any pulled, luckily,
Yeah.
but the damage that the Suboxone did to my teeth, like, and bringing it up to the doctor time and time again, and him saying, "Oh, I don't even think it's a side effect," and I'm like showing him the literature in the package that comes with the films saying
Yeah.
it says right here, and I'm having these issues, like,
Yeah.
and then not even caring.
Right. I
Like,
think that that's a really good point that you bring up is the fact that it's just like you are so blatantly telling them, look, this is happening, and then they don't believe you, right? And it's like they continue to ask you, like for me at least, it was like I would go in once a month and they would ask me how I'm doing, and I would tell them I'm not doing all right. I'm not okay.
yeah,
It was literally like getting me to a point where like I'm just alive, and that's it. Like I'm not functional, I'm not living any semblance of a quality of life. I am merely surviving.
yeah,
And I just really had to get out of that survival mode.
yeah.
I couldn't do it anymore. I was tired of surviving. I really, like, when I first started on TikTok, I found a couple really amazing, inspirational women that really helped me want to get to a better place.
That's what I was going to ask you is because I know there are other people in our community that are in that state right now where they're just literally just existing.
Yeah.
And what did you do to get out of that state?
I think a lot of it was learning from other advocates like VJ and Casey, and there's so many of them, right?
Yeah.
There are some really great, knowledgeable people out here on TikTok that know what they're talking about when it comes to advocating for yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you can learn is that you deserve a quality of life. You deserve fair and ethical treatment. And you deserve to fight until you can get what you deserve. You have to keep fighting for it. And as hard as it is, and as tough as that seems sometimes, and I know that it's not, I know that not everybody is in the situation where they can go to multiple doctors. And I know that some of us are in the situation where there's only one doctor in our town and they're not going to help us. This isn't for everybody, right? This is just me speaking about my experience. I went to 3 different doctors before I found this doctor that was willing to help me. And I didn't give up. I went to those doctors. I didn't hear what I wanted to hear, and I walked away and I made an appointment for the next one. I guess I was really lucky to have the opportunity to live in a place where I live where I can do that. You know, there's doctors around here like there's freaking banks.
Yeah.
But, like, it just, I saw through doing a lot of research over the last few years about our food and our medical industry and where we came from. I don't know what's happening. Why people are randomly popping up. Okay. But anyways, I've done a lot of research, and I'm not a political person, right? So I'm not going to talk about that. But there are things that are being said now that I'm just like, I've been saying this shit for years and nobody listened to me, and everybody told me I was crazy, and here we are, like, okay, now we all know, what do we do about it?
Right.
You know, so it's like I'm at this aha moment in my life where, like, people are finally starting to listen to me about some of this stuff, and I'm just like, it's just when you really start going down that rabbit hole and learning about our medical system,
there's so many good documentaries out there too. On all of these things, on, you know, the medical system, on surgeries, on food, on, you know, alternative therapies, you know, taking the time and doing the research for yourself, and like you said, advocating for yourself because you are worthy. Yes. And I think that's something that has really helped me in the past year, and when I'm having my really hard times, is I look to other people in the community, other advocates. I look to you, like you said, you looked at VJ and other people. When you don't have that necessarily that belief or that drive in yourself that you're worthy, other people are gonna keep telling you until you start believing it for yourself. Yeah. And I know that is something that you do day in and day out, and I know it's very much appreciated.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, you know, I never imagined that just telling my story on TikTok, literally, I don't even know what drove me to get on here to do this in the first place. I think I was angry at my doctor, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm making a TikTok about it. And then it just turned into this, you know? It's just like, wow. I never want to take it for granted. And I want you guys to know that by sharing your story, it's like a ripple effect, and you never know what part of your story is going to touch somebody and really change their lives. So I'm a big proponent for sharing your stories. Absolutely. But I always want to put that caveat out there that you're going to have people coming to you, and just know that. Just be prepared that there are going to be people coming to you, and it's okay. It's about learning those healthy boundaries.
Yeah, you help where you can, and like you said, you set those boundaries. But yeah, absolutely, sharing your story, and you know, even if you don't do it like in this format, you know, Amanda touched on her story tonight, but you know, we would be here for days if either one of us actually went through all of the details, but that is something that is awesome, especially about TikTok, is you can break it down into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
And just put it out there, and it'll resonate with someone. And that's one of the things that's so powerful about this, is somebody's going to resonate with it.
Yeah. I remember the first like inspirational woman that I found on here. Her name's Jen, and she was talking about just diet stuff, but then she started mentioning how she had chronic illnesses and chronic pain conditions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, me too. And like, so it was just like, again, it's like she was just randomly sharing that, and you just never know who you're going to connect with. And it's been really beautiful. Some of the connections and friendships that I've made on here, like I would have never met a lot of you.
Yeah.
All of you. So it's been really cool.
Do you want to talk a little bit about this this next topic that we're going to be doing this next week?
Yeah, so this week's topic, for those of you guys who are newer, we're taking the advantage of taking November as the month of hope. And so we are trying to spread more like hopeful, inspirational messages, especially because November, December, just they're hard months for a lot of us. And so we thought we'd take a break from the tough stuff and focus a little bit more on the positive. So this week, so last week was your unicorn doctor, if you had found your unicorn doctor, and you can still make a video about that, of course. But this week we're focusing more on alternative therapies and things that have been beneficial, or what you have in your toolbox that's been beneficial to you when you're in pain, or when you're having a mental health crisis, or when you're having a flare up. Like, what are the things that you go to for relief? And truth be told, a lot of my stuff, there's been just so many random things. I take so many supplements now. We got enough time.
Even like acupuncture for me has been, something that has been really helpful. And I'll probably talk about that on my page, because that is something that has been surprisingly helpful for me. Again, it goes back to you get to a point where you're just like, you think it's gonna work, why not? Let's try it.
Yeah. I remember being to that point too when it came to getting my spinal cord stimulators. I was so desperate for relief that I would have put anything in my body if it would have just made the pain stop. But I really wish I had done more research. If there's anything I wish I would have done more of back in the day before I had these surgeries, was doing more research on the procedures and what it all entails, and what the success rates are, and what,
just taking the doctor's word for it.
I mean, I let them do a lot to me, and I at the end of the day, I just felt like a lab rat, and I was just pissed off and over it. And so that's where I'm at in my story, is I'm pissed off and I'm over it, and I'm doing the bare minimum when it comes to doctors, and I'm trying to take my health into my own hands, and using a lot of natural things to try to heal myself, at this point.
Well, we all have different paths, and we're all at different points in our journeys.
Yeah.
And that's something that's so beautiful about the community, is that we can all we're all in different places, and we can kind of help each other along the way, I think.
Definitely. That was one thing that I wish.
Rowan. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I wish in the beginning that I was more open-minded when it came to different modalities of treatments. Um, I think I was very angry and just didn't want to hear it. Kind of, in that.
Yeah, just fix me, just fix me.
Yeah, just fix me, just make it stop.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that, a pill is not a plan. The pill is not going to take everything away, and it's not going to make
something
it
our lovely doctor likes to say.
Right, yeah, like Dr.
Not a plan.
Pill's not a plan, and it's really not. It can be a very important and pivotal part of your plan, absolutely. Like, medications are there for a reason. I don't want anybody to ever feel like I'm shaming medications, because I would not be in this position I'm in right now talking to you guys if it weren't for prescription medications. So I just think that there is a healthy balance of Eastern and Western medicine, and we'll get there. But, we've only been doing this for a couple hundred years in America, so we've got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But
does anybody in the comments have any questions for Amanda about her story?
I don't have any questions or comments, or I'm sorry, I haven't really been reading much of the comments, so if there's anything you guys would like to repeat, if there's something you want me to see.
Sorry, my back is
no, it's okay. I'm almost there too. My medicine's starting to wear off, so let's see. Yeah, I think that's it for me. I think I got it all out. You want to do cryotherapy, flotation therapy? Yeah, that's something that I'll talk about this week is water therapy. That was really, really beneficial for me, and something that I'm going to get back into is doing some aqua therapy. I did not get my spinal cord stimulator taken out. I have talked to surgeons. They don't want to take it out because of the scar tissue. If I was able to get anything taken out, it would be the batteries, but the leads are most likely in forever. So
yeah, that's pretty much what they told my dad.
Yeah. And I just wish they were privy. I just wish I was privy to that information in the beginning.
Right. So you would have had a more informed
right. Right. Yeah. I didn't start looking into things going wrong with these things until things started going wrong with my.
And they make it seem like it's just the greatest thing ever, and it's just going to be wonderful. And then you do the, you do the trial, and most often the trial goes really well. And then,
because you don't have this giant battery in your butt. I mean,
yeah. I understand the point of the trial, but yeah, it's different. And like I know Amanda said before, and I've said, it works for some people, and for those people that have it and it's helping them, that's great and that's wonderful. It's just like, if you're taking opioid pain medication and it's helping you, wonderful, great. Like none of us like are down or dismissive of any modality, treatment, whatever, because we're all different, and some things are going to work for certain people that aren't for others, and we're not going to poo-poo any of that kind of stuff, but just bottom line, do your research.
Yeah.
Don't just
you take away anything from tonight, it's watch documentaries, do your research, definitely be an informed patient, stand up for yourself, because you deserve it.
Ask the questions and then verify the answers that they give you too.
Yeah, verify the answers. Like, sometimes people just say things because they don't want to say they don't know. And I told my doctor today, she told me, because I was asking her about the adrenal fatigue, she's like, I honestly don't know a lot about that, so I'm not the person, and I said, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I have no problem with the doctor saying, I don't have the answer or I don't know. But when they tell me that they do know and they flat out don't and they lie to me, I can't get on board with that.
Yeah.
I can't do
that was my frustration recently with this fall and everything, was being told to ice my back when I have CRPS. And you just...
Yeah, and it's like, no, that's not a good thing to do.
Don't. Like, I don't know where else it can spread, but...
I just wanted to say one thing about this, the videos that we'll be doing with the what helps us, tools in our toolbox, is that not only is not everything going to work for everyone, but we understand that not everyone is in the same ability, either whether it be location or financially, to be able to do some of these things. So, and I'll mention that more in my video.
Yeah.
But just because somebody brings it up, and I just don't want people to feel bad if they're like, oh, well, I can't afford that. Well, we understand. Like, everybody is in a different place financially. Everybody has different accesses to things, doctors. So please don't take it personal if somebody is sharing something that has helped them.
Yeah.
They're just trying to share what's helping them.
Definitely. And I mean, for me personally, it took me kicking a bad habit I had to pick up a lot of these good habits.
Yeah.
I quit smoking cigarettes almost 2.5 years ago now. And again, not shaming anybody. Not shaming anybody.
Yeah.
Just saying, I had to do that in order to afford being able to try to heal certain parts of myself. And I needed to take that money that I was spending on something that was actively making me sicker, and take that money and put it towards something that was more beneficial for me. And
this was like my acupuncture. I wouldn't be able to do acupuncture, but the VA pays for it. They have acupuncturists there, and I get to do that for free, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it. So I just want people to realize that if we're sharing different things that are working for us, we're not trying to be like, oh, look at me, I can afford to do all these things. Right. We're just trying to share what's helping us.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that's what I meant by, in the beginning, I was a little bit more like angry and jaded and didn't want to hear it. I wish in the beginning that I was a little more open to hearing some of these things, because I've learned through trial and error that a lot of them are beneficial.
Yeah.
And nothing takes the pain away completely, and I don't think anything ever will. I have like had some moments recently where I've had some like really good pain relief, but it's short-lived. But I mean, I try my hardest to just soak in that moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Here comes the next one, right?
Right. Take those moments when you get them.
Yeah. And I think we talked about that too, about like breathing and being more in tune with our bodies.
Yeah.
Really just sitting with ourselves and letting ourselves feel what we're going through.
Yeah, being able to really tell what's going on in your body. Yeah, sometimes, you have to kind of get out of that especially if you're in pain. But your body tells you when something's going wrong and when something's going right, and being in tune with that, I think really helps kind of speed up the process of finding solutions and answers, especially like you said, when you're weaning off of certain medications or you're starting a new medication, even to really analyze what's going on. Is it helping? Is it not helping, etc. So yeah, being really mindful of that is important.
Yeah. The one thing that I didn't bring up was journaling. I think journaling, especially in the beginning, is very, very beneficial. Or not, it doesn't even always have to be in the beginning, but if you're starting new treatments or new modalities or new prescriptions, like I do recommend writing down for the first month or two how you're doing, not just physically, but how you're doing mentally, because so many of these medications can subsequently affect our mood. So it's really important to be in tune with your body and your mind. And sometimes journaling can be really, really beneficial for that, because it makes you sit down and think about, okay, today it rained and my pain was at a 10 and then it snowed. Yeah, so I mean, it's like there's some really good ones on YouTube. I mean, not on YouTube, but on Amazon. There's some really good journals with everything like typed out for you.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely a good suggestion.
All right, y'all. Well, it was a good night. I think everything went great, and thank you so much well, thank you for letting me share, and thank you for being on with me.
Absolutely.
You know, always make me feel more comfortable, so I appreciate that a lot.
I love everybody that showed up tonight. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being in here tonight. Really, really appreciate y'all so much. And, keep an eye out. Tuesday nights, Keith and Amy are doing Invisible Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central now. You can find those on Keith's page. Thursdays will be on my page, and definitely, unless we have like a holiday or something like that, then it'll be on Keith's page. But Thanksgiving, we're going to be doing a Thanksgiving meal together with everybody, so I'm excited. Keep an ear out for that. We're going to do like a big group Thanksgiving meal with everybody, and just be together, because not all of us have family right now. And
yeah, I won't have my kids, so I'll definitely be hopping in.
Good. Well, I'm glad. We all deserve to have a space to go to feel welcomed and loved, and I'm glad that we can do that. So but get your videos out about what modalities, what different tricks and tools that you have that are helpful. And I love you, Elise. That's my girl. I'll make you a pumpkin pie and we'll eat it together with spoons. Oh, that'd be fun. I wish we could eventually do like a whole like state thing. That would be really fun.
That would be awesome.
But
have a big old chronic illness, chronic pain, Texas barbecue.
Yes. Yeah. Steven will make the barbecue. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you had a good night. Thanks for joining us. Thanks again. We'll talk to you later. Bye.